Well, hello again. I thought I'd have another quick video just to give you an update on where we are on some of our projects, how I decide what projects to make, and most importantly, to provide a little bit of insight on where you can find some wonderful stuff to help further you along with your blacksmithing. When I decide what video I'm going to do, I try to decide between highlighting something that I do typically in the shop, which is more informational for potential customers and informational for more experienced blacksmiths, doing simple techniques like our square upset corner, which is a wonderful thing for new blacksmiths, making simple tooling, which is again good for new blacksmiths. It's part of a basic series that I'm trying to work on. Sometimes it's project-based, which is good for beginning blacksmiths and for more intermediate blacksmiths, but maybe not as interesting for the experienced blacksmiths. So I'm trying to balance all that somewhat continuously to keep the channel as interesting as possible for most people that have an interest in blacksmithing. I'm certainly not going to please everybody all the time, and I understand that, and I'm sorry if some of the videos aren't exactly what you're looking for, but I hope you find them all somewhat interesting. How I decide each day what I'm going to do is partly what have I been working on. We've been working on a set of fireplace tools, so I need to get back to that. And now we're in the process of working on something made out of these upset square corners. I know what that'll be, and I'll let you in on that secret when we get there. And sometimes I take into consideration how much time I have. Something like a fireplace shovel takes me about a half a day to film, to set up the camera, move it around, try and keep things so it's an interesting video instead of just me working. And then it's another hour in the evening to edit it and upload or start it uploading. My internet connection is so bad it takes about 3 hours to upload a video like this. But I don't have to sit there and watch it. Once I push upload, I go to bed. And then sometimes I don't feel like I have a whole lot of time, so I do a simple process, a twist or something. Or I just discuss a few things just so you know I haven't forgotten about you, and to keep some videos coming out to help keep the channel relevant. And that's somewhat what I'm doing today. This will only take a few minutes. For those of you who are wondering, does he ever change his shirt? Does he only own the one? Actually, I own several that look just like this, but yes, I recycle them before I wash them because they're just going to get dirty and nasty in the shop. So I wear it at the shop, and then I take it off when I go in for the night and put on something clean for the evening. So don't worry, I don't smell like an outhouse yet. Now, as far as finding tools, if you're not making tools, these are all tools that I've made. The twisting wrench we saw in the video. We've seen how to make a punch. We didn't make this hammer in a video, but we've seen how to make a hammer, and we're going to get to making tongs. But there are a lot of tools that you're going to have to buy. You can't make everything from scratch. There are some inexpensive options for forges and anvils that are less than ideal, but will get you started, and we may cover some of that at some point. But if you're looking for good tools, good equipment, good supplies, where do you go to find that stuff? The best place to start is with your local blacksmithing group. If you're here in the U.S., the Artist Blacksmithing Association of North America is the national organization, and there are affiliate organizations all around the country. I have no idea how many they are. If you go to the Abana website, abana.org, and I will try to put a link to everything I'm talking about right down here so you can see it on the video, and down in the description so you can go click on it after the video. But at abana.org there will be an affiliate tab. If you go there, you can search a map and find who the group is in your area. It'll have contact information. Get involved. Those are the guys that have used anvils, used forges, they've built forges. They may have a workshop on how to build a forge or how to set up something, or offer workshops in treadle hammers or tire hammers, just all sorts of things. So I would strongly encourage you to get involved in your local blacksmithing group, and even join Abana as the national group, because that's the organization that makes so much of that possible. For used equipment, you can find some online, eBay and Etsy and such, but it's not always the most reliable, and you're not always sure what you're going to get. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't bought anything that way. That's how I bought my 300-pound anvil that you see in most of these videos, and had it shipped up from Arizona. I don't remember who I bought it from. I wish I did. But it's been a good anvil, and I got my money's worth out of it. And you can do that. For new anvils, you might try Old World Anvils. They have a pretty good selection of new anvils. They aren't cheap. You're going to spend some money for them. The double horn anvil you see in some of these videos came from Old World Anvils and is an outstanding little anvil. I would use it as my primary anvil, except it came along later, and most of my tooling that fits the Hardy hole fits the big anvil and not the slightly smaller double horn. It's about 280 pounds, I think. I'd have to look for a mark on it somewhere to be sure. For other blacksmithing equipment, for used stuff, and I don't think this gentleman has a website, at least I've never seen one, but if you are on Instagram, look for @BlacksmithTools. I don't know where he finds the stuff, but he posts continuously anvils, power hammers, post vices, swedge blocks, forges, you name it. He probably has it in a barn somewhere. So it'd be worth following him on Instagram if you're an Instagram user. And I think he prefers you give him a phone call, which his phone number is in his Instagram profile. I'm not going to post it here on YouTube. He may not appreciate that. But that's another good source for used equipment. Again, it's not going to be cheap. He knows what the stuff is worth, and he expects to be paid for his trouble to go out and find it for you. And it's worth paying somebody that, unless you just have all the time in the world to scrounge estate sales and farm sales, which is another possibility on where to find stuff. But my experience at auctions and sales is the stuff usually is beat to death and almost always goes for more money than I think it's worth. It's not the same as buying from somebody who's been scrounging the country for the best stuff. Oftentimes it's the worst stuff. But if you need it, you need it. If you can afford it, it's worth what you're willing to pay for it. Same thing goes for antique stores. Now, as far as dealers, other than Old World Anvils, I buy a lot of things like gloves, flux, occasionally tongs, wire brushes, things like that from Pay Tool. And again, I'll plan to put a link down here for Pay Tool. Amy Pay has lots of good stuff, caters to blacksmiths and farriers. So if you're doing a little bit of both, she's going to have that. Centaur Forge, same thing. In fact, if I remember correctly, they're sort of both spin-offs of the same family business, but I'm not absolutely positive on that. So very similar selection of things, depending on what part of your country, and you may choose to do business with Pay Tool or Centaur Forge. And then there is Kane & Sons, now called Blacksmith Depot, and they have a very similar selection, but more blacksmith-oriented and a little less farrier-oriented. And they're all three worth checking out. I would strongly encourage going to any of them. A lot of times they'll have essentially the same thing, and one might be out of it, you might go to another. Sometimes I'll order something I usually order from one dealer, from somebody else because they had the one thing I really needed, and they all had the same gloves, so I order from wherever. Amy Pay at Pay Tool is probably who I go to most because she supports our local blacksmithing group and attends our conference and brings tools to sell, and I appreciate that, so I often will go shop with Amy online at Pay Tool. But Centaur Forge and Blacksmith Depot are also wonderful resources. If you just need fasteners, blacksmithbolt.com has a pretty wide selection of unplated and square head fasteners, which are wonderful for blacksmithing. If you watch my video on making fasteners, I show you how to strip the plating off of zinc plated fasteners, which is what you buy most places these days. But if Blacksmith Bolt has them, you can save that step and often start with square heads. You might not have to do anything else. So they're worth checking out. For small power tools, angle grinders, things like that, your local home center is as good a place as any. And just buy what you like. Industrial suppliers like Granger or McMaster-Carr. I buy a lot of stuff from McMaster-Carr. They are a pretty reliable supplier. They've got a very easy to use website and they ship very quickly. I don't think it's ever more than 3 business days before I get something. That may depend on what part of the country you're in, but if you're buying short pieces of tool steel, they have grinding belts for your belt sanders, hand tools, nuts, bolts of every variety, just tons of stuff. I've spent thousands of dollars at McMaster-Carr. They're kind of a blacksmith toy store. So that's just some of the places you can go buy stuff. There are more. I'm sure I will mention more places. I'm not going to get into where to go buy belt grinders, power hammers, and things like that right now, because that's an ever-changing thing, and if we're addressing specific tools and equipment, I will try to tell you where I got it if it's something that is available on the market in general. Some things are not, and they're shop built or rare enough that I can't really tell you where to go look for it. So that's just a quick little update on that stuff. Again, I appreciate you watching the channel. I appreciate you listening to the yak yak when there's no whack whack. Sorry I stole your catchphrase there, Alec. But come back. We'll get back to work on the shovel. We'll get back to work on or not the shovel, but the fireplace set. Whatever this is going to be. It's a secret still, although you can probably guess. And we'll get back to work on our square corner brackets. I'd love a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Take a look in the description down here. I will try to link everything that I can think of as a good resource, and hopefully you can find it, and I will try to leave most of those links in the description and copy them from video to video, so from here on out hopefully most of those resource links will be available. Now, there's also links to my Etsy shop and my website if you want to go take a look at those things. So, in any case, get out to the shop, make something, practice your skills, have fun, stay safe, wear your safety glasses. See you next time.